Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity Podcast, episode 209. Both Pete and I are back from holiday. We were both away for 2 weeks, not together, as we said beforehand. But we are back. We've had 2 good weeks away holiday, both of us. And we had, we'd obviously recorded episodes to cover for the weeks we were away. Like we said, this is all about consistency for us and recording every week. And we are now over, because actually 208, how many weeks are there in a year? 52, isn't it? So
All right.
208 would have been about 4 years. So we're 209. So we can actually officially celebrate that we have done 4 years of these podcasts, releasing one podcast every single Friday for the last 4 years, which is fantastic. So well done, Pete.
Well done, James.
Pete is giving himself a tap on the back. I'm giving myself a tap on the back. Okay.
Hey.
Right. So this is episode 209. This is Pete and myself. We are going to be catching up. We're going to be talking about, the last 2 weeks. We haven't really spoke for the last couple of weeks. And it's kind of, I had some interesting times, holiday in terms of training and activity and things. I'm sure Pete did as well. I've seen bits and pieces of what Pete's done. We will also maybe touch on the previous 4 episodes that we've released. All had guests, obviously. Last week, episode 208, we had Sven Rieger, who was our first ever German guest, joining us live from Tuscany in Italy. We really are going international. We really are, I have to say. 207 was Keith Moore from England, but joining us live from Poland. This is turning into one of those, the top of the pops countdowns, isn't it? It's like before when I did it. And at 206, we had Ben Morris joining us from Bristol. And the week before that, 205, we had Lucy Underdown joining us from Kent. So all over. And I can say that hopefully next week, we will hopefully have our first Australian guest joining us from Australia. Although I think we maybe have had an Australian guest who joined us from not in Australia. Who's the ATG guy? The kind of knees over toes kind
I
of.
can't remember his name.
I follow him.
Keegan, somebody.
Yes,
Smith.
yeah.
Was it
Yeah.
Keegan Smith? Anyway,
I
yeah.
think he might be Australian, but I think he was like in Bulgaria or something.
Yeah, he was in Bulgaria, Croatia, or somewhere like that.
So hopefully next week we may have our first Australian guest live from Australia. As you can appreciate, we're kind of tying in the time differences and getting the recordings set up. And the week after that, we already have the Irish physio. Now I don't want to butcher his surname, because that wouldn't be good. The Irish physio Aidan O'Flaherty will be joining us from, I would imagine, Ireland. Okay, so that will be the week after. So we've got some great guests coming up in the near future. But Pete, I suppose really you're adorned in your walk bath and your Solvitor Ambulato.
Ambulando,
yeah, walking solves merch as it were now. How's the last 2 weeks been for you? And what have you been up to training wise, exercise wise? I mean, you've been putting some amazing photos up that, like I said, I would expect like the North Face and Vivo Barefoot and all the, you're going to be inundated by sponsors soon, because the images you've been putting up are just perfect. You can imagine them in big shop windows. They're really kind of great for walking. But yeah, what have you been up to the last couple of weeks?
I'll tell you what, it's funny though, those images. I mean, if anyone's ever been to the lakes, you'll know like you can't take, like when you're up these things, you can't take a bad photo, right? You just take a shot. You can doctor them in Instagram and stuff like that and put little highlights on them, which I did do. I haven't like used filters, but just like, a bit of contrast and all of this sort of stuff. And so the color, because like when when you take a photo, the colors aren't exactly like you see them, sunsets and all that. Whereas you can make it look more like it actually looks, which is interesting. But yeah, so you can't take a bad photo really. So it's not. Sean took most of them, and I took a few of them, but you can't really credit me or her for really taking the great photo. It's just the subject is the mountain or is the scenery. And the scenery, honestly, it's amazing around there. I absolutely love it. We're going to move up there eventually.
So
Um,
where have you been then? You've been to the Lake District, like you
yeah.
say,
So
and you loads of
we were
walking.
stayed near Keswick,
Yeah.
which was where we're gonna get up Blencathra, where we went up, and we went up Helvellyn as well, which is the third highest mountain. Blencathra is my favourite mountain. Helvellyn is the third highest, but that's got the two ridges. It's got Swirl Edge and Striding Edge, which you can go along. So we went up Swirl and back down Striding Edge with the dog. So it was we were a bit kind of like, will the dog be able to do it? And he did it like 4 or 5 times while we were going.
Okay.
And then we did a couple of flatter walks. We did Cat Bells, which is in Keswick, which is a smaller peak, but you can do like a decent circular walk back through the woods and along by Derwent Water. We did we did a place called Loughrig as well, which was on the way between the two places that we stayed. And then we did a Harrop Tarn, it was called, near Thirlmere. And that was because it was a wet day, so that's in the woods and stuff like that. So that wasn't really high. It was just a nice place. And then we stayed in Coniston after that, which is in the south. So Keswick's up north. Coniston's further is South Lakes. And we stayed in a place called Little Arrow, which is just outside of Coniston. And there you can get up the Old Man of Coniston. And then when you're on there, there's another couple of peaks, but you can do a loop around across a place called Dow Crag and then walk along the ridge there and back down. So we did that. That was a 5-hour hike. And then that was on the Saturday. On the Sunday, we drove towards the Langdales and went up a place called Bow Fell, which is where you walk through this this valley, Mickleden Valley, which is about, I don't know, it was a couple of miles to get to the bottom of the mountain, and then we walked up the mountain, but it was 25 degrees that day. It was bloody hot. It was sunny. And that was after a 5-hour hike the day before. So that, like, we went up there, and then you get up to Bow Fell, and then we could walk back along the ridge, back down, and that was a 6-hour hike.
God, so you've really,
it was amazing, honestly. And that's a small part of it, a really small part of it. So but like training wise, like you were talking about.
But then just quickly, because I know this podcast is going to be great for the English tourist board. You know, we're going to be talking about stuff. But where else did you go somewhere else though, as well as you went?
Yeah, we went. So we did those two, and then we stayed in Whitley Bay, just on the coast of the northeast. So there's Tynemouth, Whitley Bay, Cullercoats, Blythe. That's going up north. There's like on the other side, there's South Shields as well, and then stuff down there as well. So South Shields is on the other side of the Tyne, obviously, and then north is Tynemouth, which is Long Sands Beach. Then there's Cullercoats. Then there's Whitley Bay. Then Blythe, where Get Carter was filmed. That's the end of Get Carter is at Blythe, and then it goes further up to like Amble and Bamborough. So Bamborough Castle, people will know that, and Holy Island and the Farne Islands and all that sort of stuff. Getting up towards like Berwick and stuff like that. So that's the whole of like the northeast coastline. But we were in Whitley Bay, which is an amazing place, and then it's only like 20 minutes driving to see my mum and my brother and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, so that was amazing. And then after that, we left there on the Friday and drove down and stayed at a place near Beedale in North Yorkshire, which is near the Black Sheep Brewery. And we went up, and that's near the Pennines.
Okay.
So we drove to the Pennines and then went up a place called Shunnerfell, which I think is the third highest one. And that was totally different because that's all kind of moorland and bogs and stuff like that. Whereas in the lakes, there are a few bogs and stuff like that, but the stuff we did was more sort of like mountains and ridges and a bit of scrambling and stuff like that. So it was amazing. It was really cool.
Oh, that's fantastic. And then you were just going to mention training wise, because I did also obviously see you training as well. You know, what did you do? You drove, obviously, like you say, so you have the ability to pop a kettlebell or two in the car and take with you. And I did see you doing your pressing and things. So yeah, what were you doing in terms of training?
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because Sven talked about this and he said he was just going to go away and do some bodyweight training and stuff. But then he suddenly was going to be lifting the Dinnie Stones again, wasn't he? So he had to change it up. But I did it the other way around. I took 2 bells with us, and I was going to do pistol squats and presses because there was nowhere to do pull-ups, which is on my program as well. But getting into it, my pistols were quite heavy, like doing it with 38 kilos as well. but walking up and down mountains, my legs just didn't like it. I'd got a bit stiffer, like my calves had got stiff because you're walking up steps or up an incline and then down again and all that. So I mean, there's hills around Bath, but it's not the same. So it's a different kind of fitness. And I mean, all the training I've been doing does help with it and all the walking and everything, but it's a different kind of fitness. So like the place we were staying had stairs, and walking down the stairs in the morning, I had to hold on to the banister because my calves were stiff. So then doing pistols was like, I could do them, but it was really, really hard. So I just sent Paul a message and just said, look, I'm not doing the pistols. I'll just do presses while I'm away. Cause I was like, my legs are getting plenty. So I just did the pressing basically. And that was it.
Cause I mean, was that like, is that, do you do pressing 3 days a week? Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. You managed to maintain that while you're away for the 2 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's not that you just get, I would get up like slightly earlier and just do them. And it took like an hour and a bit. And that was it. But I'd do it like in between sets. I'd be making breakfast or watching the Olympics or doing whatever. So it worked out really nicely actually. But like if I wasn't doing all the activity, I would have been carried on with the training more. But like I say, we're doing 5-6 hour hikes. So there's plenty.
Yeah,
it's one of those. You're doing plenty.
Like
The example there for me is your training should reflect what you want to do. And it does for me when I'm at home, but during that time, it didn't go with it because I was more tired because I was doing more. So it's actually like the training can go out the window because it didn't help. So, it's one of those things. So I just took a bit like a rest.
And how did you feel? Did you sleep well while you're away? You weren't doing any work? Obviously, I know you do work, online, and you do bits to do with your walk bath and all the rest of it. But how was it kind of having 2 weeks away from kind of running your sessions and that sort of thing? Was that all okay?
Yeah, that was fine. Yeah. That was absolutely fine. I had to make sure that walk bath ran smoothly because there was someone looking after it for me, which it did. Because all the information comes to me, so I had to send it to them and say, here's the people who are coming and everything. But that all ran smoothly. We had 28 new people come through walk bath while I was away, so that's great. So it's kind of it's not looking after itself. I still have to look after it, but I don't have to do. There's people now coming through who can help me with that. So that was, and there was 2 ladies who did it. One did one day, and this other lady did the other 4 walks, and she really enjoyed it. She loved it. So I was like really thankful and appreciative, and she was like, "It's fine. I really enjoyed doing it." So that was good. So there was like zero stress with that, basically.
That's nice that you've got maybe 1 or 2 people that you can, if you go away again or whatever, you've got other kind of people that can look after it for you. So it's like you say, it's kind of, and the numbers, like I say, I think I put a comment on one of your posts that the momentum really seems to be building with it, because the numbers almost, I remember when you used to post pictures and sometimes there'd be like 3 or 4 people there or 5 people, and now it's kind of, you can just see the groups growing, and you, like you say, 28 or whatever, but you've regularly got over 20 people on the walks, haven't you now? So
yeah, the average across the whole of it is about 10, but it's the last 4 or 5, 6 walks, the average has been like 15 or 16. So it's definitely growing. It's it's working. It's a proper company now as well. But there you go.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. That's great.
So and what about you anyway?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, I was going to mention as well, if you're listening on the day of release, which I know many of you do, I always say this, it will be Friday, the 30th of August. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, it would be Friday the 30th of August. So I just wanted to give a little shout out as well and say that obviously we had Lucy Underdown on a few weeks ago, and she is going to be at Unique Results in Chelmsford, Essex on Sunday the 8th. So if you're listening on the day of release, the Friday the 30th, next Sunday, Lucy's going to be at Unique Results doing a special deadlift seminar / workshop where you can kind of hear all about Lucy, her life, her strong woman career, her deadlifting, and learn from her. We'll be deadlifting ourselves as well. So if you want to book on for that, just go on to the Health Oddity Instagram, click on the kind of link tree on there, and you'll be able to see ways to sign up. It'd be great to see some of you there. And then the other thing I wanted to mention before we go much further, I don't think I spoke to you on the podcast about it, but I have had other people. I think Hannah Camden reached out to me about the walking as well. Yeah.
Yes, I've spoken to her.
Ah, brilliant. Okay. Yeah. So just a quick reminder, I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but next June, so we are a way off, is when we're going to do the Unique Results Walking Weekend in Bath. And we're going to be kind of joining forces, obviously, with Pete and Walk Bath that weekend. And we're going to be doing a Friday walk in the evening and a Saturday walk. So anyone who is in kind of Wales, Somerset, kind of Southwest, listeners who may want to get involved and join us, just either speak to me or Pete, and we can start that, because I mean, it's a long way off, but it's going to be I'm already really looking forward to that weekend. That's going to be great.
Well, I mentioned it to Hannah that day.
Yeah.
It was the day I was leaving. I had loads of ideas on the last day,
Mm.
and I sent her a message, and she got back to me and said that would be great. Well, let's talk about it. But she also said she wanted to talk to me and you about something as well. I don't know
Oh,
what she
okay.
said. She'll not tell us what yet. But the same day I got in touch. So Julian House is a homeless shelter in Bath, and it's a charity. And they do a circuit of Bath Walk, which is on the 22nd of September, which is a 22-miler all the way around. So we're doing that. A few of us are doing that. And I got in touch with him with the idea of doing a walking festival over a weekend next year sometime. So in Bath, I'll let everyone know the dates when we get it. I need to speak to him now that I'm back, but we're gonna it'll be a Saturday and a Sunday. There'll be a walk at 9, a walk at 1, and a walk at 5 on each day. There'll be a couple of hours, but like they'll start from so you can do the morning one and then you can go over and do the afternoon one from somewhere else, and there'll be like 6 different walks or
Yeah,
something
well,
like
you
that.
can do one. You can do one on the Saturday, one on the Sunday, or
Exactly,
whatever
whatever,
you want.
whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there'll be 3 walks, and the Saturday one from at 5 o'clock finish like at a park and ride next to a pub.
Mm.
And we'll go for a drink afterwards or something like that. So, and I got in touch with him because it was like, right, we could raise some money for Julian House. We could, and he's like, we could try and get sponsorship and all that sort of stuff as well. So I've no idea how that's going to work. It was an idea that I sent to him, so that'll be something. So I'll tell everyone about it on here as well when it becomes a thing.
Excellent. No,
So
that's
yeah,
great.
it's
No, that's
cool.
great. Yeah, well, you were in the kind of north east of the country, weren't you?
Well, northwest and then northeast.
Northwest and then northeast. Okay. Yeah, when I was down deep. So people who are listening who don't who aren't from England or around here. So I was down in the far sort of southwest. I was down in Devon and Cornwall, which was absolutely lovely. 2 weeks down there with family. Loads of loads of walking, but not so much like going out for a walk. But we visited quite a few kind of National Trust properties and English heritage sites and things like that. So loads of kind of incidental walking, where you're doing 10, 12,000 steps, walking around various places. And it was gorgeous. I mean, I've not really spent much time down in Devon and Cornwall before. Have you, Pete? I know
Yeah.
yeah. So you've done quite a lot down
We
there.
we go to North Devon quite a lot, so like around Ilfracombe, what's it called? Salcombe, not Salcombe. What's it called? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Croydon, places like around
Yeah.
that sort of way.
Yeah.
It's
So,
lush.
so we went, one of my favorite places was, I'm going to hold up a little statue now. And Dan John, actually, friend of the show, commented on something.
Yeah, look
Have
at
you
that.
have you been there, Pete?
No, I haven't.
No. So this was, if you're watching on YouTube, this is Tintagel Castles. That's King Arthur. So there's a statue of this exact statue, but it's 8 foot tall, right on the cliffs overlooking. Well, with the sea behind you, obviously overlooking what was Tintagel Castle, and that was a great day. Loads of walking on the cliffs and up and down, and that's kind of supposedly. I mean, I know it's all a legend, really. You're not really sure, but it's supposedly the birthplace of King Arthur, and it's all to do with the Arthurian sort of legend around there. So that was a fantastic day that we had there, and Dan John saw, because he loves the Sword in the Stone, doesn't he, and King Arthur and everything, and he saw the picture of me with the statue, and he goes, "I have to go there. I have to go." So I kind of messaged him back and told him, but yeah, so that was
I've
great.
seen that before, and I didn't know where it was actually. And then you posted that up, and I was like, "Oh
Yeah,
wow!"
it's
And
really, I mean, it's really impressive, because it's obviously kind of cast iron or something, and it's a real lovely 8 foot tall kind of sculpture of King Arthur, and then you kind of go up and have your photo taken with it, and he's got the upturned sort of Excalibur, and you can hold the sword and have your picture taken. Yeah.
When you get there, does it look like Graham Chapman?
No, no, it doesn't.
That'd be hilarious, wouldn't it? With a couple of
Yeah,
coconuts.
yeah. But yeah, and what's it, the killer rabbit somewhere? Yeah. Dear me. No, but that was great. So we went there. We went to Bude in Cornwall, which was beautiful.
We stayed in Bude in for Christmas.
Oh,
and it
wow.
is lovely, but it pissed it down basically for a week.
Okay, yeah, but that was gorgeous, and Summerlees Beach, and we went Plymouth, which I'd never been to before. Plymouth, I thought was lovely. You know, we stayed near Tavistock in Devon, which was a really nice town as well. So yeah, went to Boscastle, and yeah, loads of play. Yeah, so it was very, very good. Yeah, really, really good. And what was good as well, I managed to, because this comes out obviously on Friday the 30th. So tomorrow, I'm doing a strongman comp with Alex Nicole Bennett, who's been on the show. So I needed to kind of keep my training up. So I took a few bells with me. I think I took a 20, a 24, and a 30. And then I took the 2 kilo add-on plate. You know, you've got them as well, haven't you? You know, so 3 days a week. 2 days a week for the 2 weeks. I just did some kettlebells up. We had a really nice sort of farmhouse we stayed in, and there was a swimming pool there, which was great. So I stored the kettlebells and a mace in the kind of there was a little kind of cabin by the swimming pool, which kind of, you just had all the cushions and things in, and you controlled different things in there. So I left the kettlebells in there. So I went up and did kettlebells twice a week. And then I also went to a really good gym in Plymouth, called the Power Building Gym in Plymouth, which was run by Matt and Leonie Tapman, who were lovely. Leonie is like a GB power lifter, who's like, she's tiny. I want to say 52 kilos class, something like that. Light anyway. I think it was in the 50s, 52, I think. And she's like a European champion, a British champion, powerlifting. She was great. And Matt is a former kind of Royal Marine commando who now does strongman training and stuff. So that was great. I went there twice a week for the 2 weeks that we were there, and just allowed me to kind of tick over
Did you know that was there before you went?
I'd researched it, yeah.
Okay. Does it look like you just stumbled upon this, like?
Oh, no,
because it was gym where you could go and do all your strongman
Yeah,
stuff?
no, it was about a 45-minute drive away from where we were staying. But I'd looked prior to it for nearby, kind of strongmen, kind of what I'd call like, a proper gym that has got like free weights and all stuff that I could do beforehand. And that came up, and I had messaged them before I went. So I mean, this is a good thing as well for people who, we've talked about this before, haven't we? Like when you're on holiday, you kind of decide, I don't think there's anything, you do what you want to do. There's nothing wrong with going and having a total rest. There's nothing wrong with going and ticking over, or like you did, adapt your program because you're doing so much walking, but then still ticking over on your presses. Or some people, if you've got something, like an event or a challenge or a certification coming up, you may need to continue training to some extent while you're away. And that's kind of what I did. I had two sessions a week there. Because like I say, it was a kind of a 45-minute drive there. Did a good sort of 90 minutes, 2 hours, and drove back. So it was really worth my time. But yeah, I'd kind of just researched, sent them a message beforehand, kind of arranged that I was going to be able to train there. Yeah, and it was really, really good. Yeah, it's brilliant. And also another thing, I bumped into a couple of people while I was down there. Bumped into one of the members from Unique Results, who I think listens to it as well, called Kate Tembeth. I bumped into Kate, a member from my gym in Cornwall, in Tintagel, just in the car park. We were like walking. I was like, oh my God. So I saw Kate. And then also I went down. This is great example of how this podcast, and how just putting ourselves out there. Because when we did the Disabled Strongman, when we helped out last year, we met Martin Foster, who was the guy who tore his bicep.
Yes. Who I got mixed up with Mark Brasher. When I saw him, I
yes,
saw him in Wales, in Cardiff, and I went, "Oh, how's
yeah,
your bicep?" He went, "That was the other fella." And I
yeah,
was like,
yeah, yeah.
"Oh,
So Martin Foster is from Cornwall.
yeah,
Um, and we were down there, and a quick congratulations as well for two people two friends of the show, but Alex Nicole Bennett and Ashley Ellis both did the Essex Strongest Man while I was away in Strongest Man and Strongest Woman in Chelmsford High Street on the 10th of August. Well done to both of them. But while I was down there, I realized because there was a couple of people from the gym I was training at down there competing in, it was called Cornwall's Most Powerful Man and Woman on the same day, which was the 10th of August. So it was about an hour and a quarter's drive down to Camborne in Cornwall. So it was quite good. So I drove down there on the Saturday and watched the Strongman show in Cornwall. And then I bumped into friend of the show, Louise Greer. No Legs,
yeah,
No Limits was there with her boyfriend, Reese.
yes."
I'm
Who?
asking myself to try and remember so many names at the
So
moment.
he's a strong man. They were at the play. They were at the thing in February where I went to it, the gym in Nailsea,
Yeah,
where Gary was competing as well, and Panda Chandler was there, and
yeah,
Matt, like Matt Chandler, and
yeah,
what's his name? Martin Ty was there, and Matt Diamond was there as well, like
yeah,
judging it all, and Reese was there competing.
yeah. So
Louise was there
Reese,
competing as
yeah,
well.
Reese Roberts, who's Haymaker is his kind of
Yeah.
nickname, whatever. So he was there competing, and Louise was there watching and supporting, which was great. And I hadn't realised, but he didn't actually end up coming. But they were due to have Gavin Bilton there
All
for the
right.
day as well, but he didn't make it in the end. But that was a great day going down to Cornwall to Camborne and watching the Cornwall's sort of strongest man. And it's really funny. I don't know. I know who was it that we had on, or we mentioned something the other week about a place, and you mentioned the place. What was the place? And the guy got in touch with us.
Stoke.
Stoke. It was quite funny because I've not spent a lot of time down in Devon and Cornwall, but they've got proper like Cornish accents and stuff down there. And it was in the car park of this Tyax hotel in Camborne, and had an outdoor bar set up and everything. And the kind of the compere, the MC for the day, kept sort of saying, "Oh, and pop over to the tent and get yourself a cider and get yourself like a." And there was loads of people eating like Cornish pasties and drinking
Oh
cider
yeah.
in the crowd, and it was, and I had a good Cornish pasties, bloody hell, lovely.
Yeah.
I couldn't eat too many of them.
It's a massive. Well, they've got like there's a Cornish language, isn't there? There's actual Cornish language, which is different.
I
Um.
don't realise there's a Cornish flag, isn't there, which is black with
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
cross on it.
Yeah.
Because I've
Well,
seen that.
There's flags for everything. There's a Northumberland flag, isn't there, with the yellow and red?
I know,
Um.
but not many places really fly them and really
No.
kind of are really proud of them and are kind of like, I wouldn't know. Well, I suppose I think the Essex flag might be like three lions on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not like, but it was really prominent down there in Cornwall. Like like
It's
say, we went to these National Trust properties and English heritage sites and things, and and a lot of them had this Cornish flag, up a flagpole. So it was fairly, uh,
you see it a lot on the canals around here and stuff. If there's any boats, like on the canals, they'll have Cornish flags on them and stuff like that. If they're from there, the guy who the landlord of the Star, the pub that we go to most regularly, years ago, he was from Cornwall and they used to have a Cornish festival
yeah,
every year.
yeah.
It was great.
No, it's great, and because and then I realised afterwards that they had the Cornwall Strongest Man and Woman, and they had the logo was kind of like black and white, but it had the kind of the Cornish flag built into the logo, and I hadn't realised. But yeah, so yeah, fantastic, really, really great 2 weeks. Lovely to just explore a different part of the country, and it is so much. And then I think it was the week after. It was a shame because I left on the Friday to come back, and on the Saturday was Devon's Strongest Man and Strongest Woman competition as well. And again, a few of the people who I kind of got to know from training in the gym in Plymouth were competing at the Devon's Strongest Man and Strongest Woman. So that would have been really good to go and see as well. So Yeah, no, it was good. It was good to kind of have a lovely holiday, still have some training, and kind of just get to, you know, see a few different things and go to a few different things, which is great because I haven't had a holiday in this country for years and years. And like I say, this little thing is
That's great. I love that.
superb, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, really, really good. Really, really
that's
good.
fantastic. Yeah.
Excellent. So, in terms of since you've been back, you got back on, we're recording this on a Thursday. You got back, I think you said on Sunday,
Yes.
and you've just been sort of straight back to work, straight back to training, straight back to everything, have you? Or
Yeah, straight back into everything because while I was away, so Set and Walk Bathurst was a CIC company. I applied for that just before I went away, and it came through like 2 days later. So that happened while I was away. So now I'm like this week I've been trying to set up bank accounts and I've got a virtual address for it and all of this sort of stuff. So it's basically just getting all the admin of that, getting directors involved, get them into it, get them put on the bank account. Then I can start applying for funding, and then start getting it out and about. So that's what I've been doing this week. Um, yeah,
have you been
I've been
have you
super
been
busy.
back on the have you been back on the pistols now that you're back home?
Yeah, he's now got me doing sets of 10 with a 12 kilo,
Oh, okay.
which is nice. Which is actually quite nice. It's quite easy. But I did have DOMs in my thighs on Tuesday, which I haven't had for ages.
Yeah. Oh dear, dearie me. No, I mean it's good. Yeah, I got back on the Friday, and I was straight back into work on the Saturday, Sunday.
You got a PB as well in your press, didn't you?
I've got a few. Yeah, it's just kind of really good. And I think this is interesting as well. This is maybe worth mentioning that although I was away, I was, and I did train. I say I trained sort of twice a week, sort of properly, and I just did some pressing and not really any program stuff by the pool with the kettlebells. And I really think my body um, probably needed, probably enjoyed the rest, where it was a bit more relaxed. And I wasn't obviously working for 2 weeks, which made a big difference because just before I left, I'd been pressing like a 30, and the 30 is getting more. I mean, I say it's getting again, I'll always sort of say it's not kind of in your league of pressing, but the 30 is getting more comfortable now where I know I can press it 5 times on each side, a 30. And then just before I went, I think I pressed the 32 3 times on each side, which I haven't touched the 32 for ages. So that's why I took the 30 with me and a 2 kilo add-on plate. So
Yeah.
while I was by the pool, I did some pressing and I did some 30 and some 32s. And then last Saturday, so I came back on the Friday. On the Saturday, I wanted to do some training, but I'd had an 8.5 hour journey back on the Friday in the car. So it's a long time sat in a car. And I'd done spinning in the morning, I had a full morning. So I thought I'll just do some pressing and I'm not going to really worry too much. But I ended up building up to using, so I've got a 1 kilo add-on plate and a 2 kilo add-on plate at the gym, which friend of the show, Lauren Emery, brought in. So I did like I think I did a couple each side with the 32. Then I thought, well, I'll just try. So I put the 1 kilo on, one each side with the 33. The one on the left went up really nicely for a 33. The one on the right went up, but wasn't quite so smooth, if you like. So I thought, right, I'll go for 34 on the left. And I did it and it went up. So that's the most I've ever pressed, on my left. And then, which was good. And then also, the Atlas stones while I was away. I got a 100 kilo stone up. And I've got the 100 kilo stone at the gym, which was signed by Magnus for Magnuson when he came. And I'm also going to get Lucy Underdown to sign it when she's at the gym. And today I did the 100 kilo at my gym for the first time. Because it's kind of a smooth stone. It's a new one. I used a bit of tacky. And then I did a run where I did 70, 80, and then 100, one after the other, like higher up as well. So that's all improving. It's quite nice.
Sweet.
So I think, yeah, having that bit of rest, I think it's needed. And I feel, and I have to say, I drank alcohol 14 days in a row, which I
So
have,
did I.
so did you, which I haven't done, which I don't do obviously here. I haven't had a drink since I've been back, but I think but it was only like, one or two beers a day, but
Yeah.
every day for 14 days. So I have to say I did feel a bit heavier coming back and things, but you know I quite enjoyed it. You know, I've seen some lovely country pubs, you know, lovely places. And yeah, friend of the show, well, friend of the show, who's not been on the show yet, but Emma Gray, who I think you know Emma, don't you? Small Emma.
Yeah.
She'd bought me a 9 pint sort of mini keg of this kind of IPA or from Chelmsford Brew Company, and I took that with me. And over the course of maybe 4 nights, 4 or 5 nights, I kind of drank that as well. So yeah, it was nice. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, having a beer if you want.
I'll tell you what. Try doing a 6-hour hike up a mountain and then not going for a pint afterwards. It's not the same, honestly. But I was the same. I didn't feel like lethargic the next day and stuff like that. But I knew it felt different having something every day.
Yeah.
You know, but then we're on holiday, so we didn't have to get up early in the morning and all that sort of stuff. We weren't getting up late, but we weren't getting up super early either. And you know, just getting up and having it, because it's funny. I used to think, and I don't know if people do think this, but I used to think like when you go to places like this, you have to get up early and get the walk done and all of that. So it's like we were going out at like midday, you know, and we'd still do 3 or 4 hour hike or 5 hour hike. But if you start at like 12:30, you finish at 5:30, and you finish somewhere where there's a pub. So it's a perfect time for a pint.
Yeah. Well, we had a little pub called the Royal, which was in a place called Horsebridge, which was exactly 1 mile from our house where we were staying. So a couple of times we walked down to the pub, and it was a mile downhill to get to the pub, you know, literally. And then a couple of nights we had dinner there a couple of nights, and we had a pint or two, and then it's obviously a mile uphill on the way back.
Yeah.
And some of it was really steep, you know, because you know what it's like. I mean, we don't really have sort of hills in Essex, you know. So, you know, in Devon, it was properly like a mile downhill, then a mile uphill. But again, that was great. You know, it was just good. It was just good fun. And a lot of the time we did get out earlier because like there was 10 of us there. And they'd book into like a National Trust place or somewhere, and it would inevitably be like 45 minutes or an hour's drive away. So I'd get up, we'd drive there, we'd have a nice day, we'd come back. Then the kids usually had sort of like, you know, a couple of hours in the pool, sort of maybe 4 till 6. And I could do some pressing beside the pool and get in the pool afterwards and have a swim. So no, it was good. You know, it was different type of holiday, but yeah, really good. And
it's funny that we're fitting in, like you were saying, fitting in the pressing and stuff like that. It's like there's time when you're away. There's downtime, isn't there? When you're not doing anything, and you're like, you know, and doing a couple of presses each side for me takes like what, a minute. You know, so it's 10 times that. So it's 10 minutes, but it doesn't take 10 minutes. It takes an hour or longer. But you know, you just put it down, and then I'd be off doing something else or getting ready to go out for the walk or whatever. You know, or like. There was one of them, we had to do something. So I got up and, we were leaving that day, I think. So I got up, did like 3 sets of presses, and then we had breakfast and packed the car up. And then I did another 2 sets. And then we got in the car and went to the next place. And then I did another couple of sets when we got there, and then unpacked everything and all that. And then did another couple and then one more. So I got all 10 in across the day, just did them in different places.
Yeah.
And then the last place we stayed in Yorkshire was like 3 cottages all next to each other, and then like a communal space outside. Well, the third cottage has got like a fence with a gate on, so it's kind of cordoned off. But the people who were staying in those knew each other, and then me and Sean were in the other one. We've stayed there before, so I was outside doing, because you can't press in a cottage because the ceiling's too low.
Yeah.
So I was outside doing presses while they were having the breakfast in the garden over the way.
Yeah.
And they were all kind of like, what's he doing over there? And I would just like, I would go out and do them and then go back in again, because I didn't want to be like, you know, like, look at me sort of thing. But I was like, well, I've got to do them somewhere. Yeah. And they're there. So I just did them, you know. It was great. Like one of the guys was like, oh yeah, I did mine last night.
Well, you mentioned you can't press in a cottage. I don't know if you can see the top of my head.
Yeah, up a bit. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it's kind of there. Yeah, you know, because you probably get, if you're listening, you would have seen that. But we were staying in this kind of farmhouse that was, you know, a good 300 years old, probably parts of it. And it was originally like a 700 like acre farm or something, and now it's like a house, and it's still got a kind of a 2 acre garden and everything. But all so it's obviously owned as a house and let at certain times of the year. And the ceilings, or not there's a doorway in there that was really quite low. And the second day in, I went to walk through this door, and I caught the top of my head, and I literally felt the skin roll back on the top of my head, and it really lifted a load of skin off my head, and I shouted, obviously, bloody painful. And then it took it 10 days to kind of heal, and it was out in the sun and out in the swimming pool, and obviously when we went to the beach, it's salt water and the sea air and everything, so it healed lovely. I reshaved my head, and then the day before we were due to come back, I walked through this doorway again. I was chatting to Xander, and I did it a second time. So, but it wasn't quite as bad the second time. So, 'cause that was a week ago today, that bit there, but it was
Yeah.
worse than that. But yeah, so you just mentioned the low ceilings, so it's the low doorway in this house. But no.
I don't have that problem.
Yeah. Oh dear. Well, no, hopefully, I mean, people are listening. I know we've been having a bit of a catch up and talking about holiday and stuff, but hopefully there are some bits in there that people can take away in terms of, activity on holiday, in terms of modifying programs, in terms of keeping some level of consistency, even when you're away, but, and it's up to you what you do on holiday, just like it's up to me and Pete. But we had a beer, like we said, 14 days, had a beer every day for 14 days, still kept up some training. And the important thing is that as soon as you come back to reality, if you like, you try and slot back into things as soon as you can. And I think we've both kind of done that. We've both obviously been back. I can't believe I've been back a week tomorrow, at the time of recording. You've been back 4 days or whatever, 4 or 5 days tomorrow. But if you can slot back into your training as soon as you can afterwards, sometimes, and I found it to be the case for myself, a bit of a rest is a good thing, if you're training all the time, or, not necessarily 100% rest, because that's not what I did, but, training a bit less frequently and allowing the body to maybe adapt and recover and to heal and regenerate and grow, and then you come back to it, and then you, like we mentioned with my pressing, the day after coming back, I was pressed more than I've ever pressed in my life, at 46 years of age. And I know, Pete, you're 47, aren't you?
Yes.
Thinking about it, yeah, I think you're 46. So we're similar ages. You can continue getting stronger as you get older, if you do things sensibly, and if you appreciate rest and sleep and all the rest of it. So no, that's great.
Absolutely. I saw someone who I know put a post up last week before, whenever it was anyway, talking about being 40
mm,
and won't be able to walk up mountains all for the rest of your life and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, 40's not like, it's nothing.
Well, the thing is, though, when you're younger, if you were like a teenager or 20, you look at someone who's 40 and you think they're old, don't you?
Yeah.
You do. I mean, it's just the nature. But when you get to, like, we're now nearer 50 than we are 40. I don't feel, we spoke about this obviously a couple of weeks back with Ben Morris, didn't we? The kind of overcoming obstacles and just the nature of getting older. Yeah, things are going to change a little bit, but I'm noticing more maybe that I just need to take more care of rest, recovery, be more mindful of sleep. If you do get an injury, it's going to take you longer to recover from, so just be patient with that, all those kind of things. But I think that actually, being nearer 50 than I am 40, it's I think I'm going to be bloody good at 50, you know what I mean? And I know you are as well,
Damn
so
right.
damn right. Damn
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. It's
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like I've had loads of examples of it, but there's the lady who I speak about, who I talked to in the park, who's like 90 and still going, and you'd think she was in her 70s. She's amazing. So I just use that. I like, what does it look like in 20 years? All of that
Mm.
that we've spoke about. I just think about that all the time, with everything I do.
Yeah.
Even like this time we did a lot more. Like we'll usually do mountains and stuff, but we might do one big walk. and then the rest do like little peaks here and there, or just do one peak or whatever. But this time we did a lot more.
Mm.
We did at least 2 5-hour hikes, 1 6-hour one, all across ridges and all this sort of stuff. So it was quite heavy going. And it
Mm.
rained a couple of days where we just did flat walks. And I'm
Mm.
glad it did, because I'm an idiot. I would have been like, right, what, we're going up tomorrow. And Sean's like, can we just we don't have to go up something every day. And I was like, well, we're here. We'll have to make as much, but there was certain days when it was raining and the cloud was over the mountain, you just couldn't see anything. So it was like, well, it's pointless going up anywhere because there's no view.
Mm.
And it actually naturally, we did, what did we do? We did Saturday, Sunday, then Monday it rained, then we did Tuesday, then Wednesday it rained, Thursday. No, Wednesday was okay, but we did a flat walk around like Derwent Water, which was our day off, and we did 13 miles.
Yeah.
And then, Friday, and then a couple of Thursday, Friday, we were on the move. And then Saturday, Sunday, we did the bigger peaks again. And then we had time off when we were in Whitley Bay. So it actually worked out. It ebbed and flowed quite nicely across the time. And that was perfect, because, you can get used to doing stuff every single day, but also you lose the enjoyment of it, I suppose, don't you? Because it feels like a chore. So
Yeah.
And that's the same with training. I mean, I only lift weights 3 days a week, and then the rest of it's just moving.
Yeah. No, it's great. And I think that we've got a quick couple of shout outs. Edith, obviously friend of the show, long-term listener of the show. I mean, she's lifting Atlas stones now, she's 65 years of age, which is great. Jeff, who is hopefully coming to the walking next year in Bath, he's 70, 76, 77 he'll be, you know what I mean? And he's out walking, and he's the one who goes skiing with us every year still. 76, 77 years of age. So I think we say it every, not every week, but we say it a lot on the podcast that, we're inspired by people who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s doing this stuff still. And that's why we like talking to, your Phil Maffetones, your Dan Johns, your Mark Rifkins, your Magnus Magnussons. All these people are in their 60s and older, and they're still doing it, so that should be inspiration for all of us. So yeah, great, excellent. Well, that was a good catch up, and hopefully, like I say, you may think about some of that stuff if you are due to go away on holiday soon, or next time you do, because it's actually good fun to find ways to be active and be enjoyable and still have a holiday. You don't have to go on holiday and just put your feet up on the beach for 2 weeks and not move and overeat and overdrink, although you can do that if that's what you want to do. Cool, excellent. So we will be back next week for episode 210. Like I say, I'm hoping that we will be joined by Alan. Let me see if he's come back to me. Alan Willis from Australia. He hasn't come back to me, but we're just, like I say, we're kind of at the edge of setting that up. And the week after, we'll be back with 211 with Aidan. I don't want to. O'Hanlon?
O'Flaherty.
O'Flaherty. Well done. Well done. Is it yeah. Aidan O'Flaherty, the Irish physio, will be back on 211 with him. But anyway, until next time, please do like, share, subscribe, leave a review if you're watching or listening on a platform that allows you to do so, especially Apple Podcasts. I haven't actually checked in the last couple of weeks. I'll see if we've had any more reviews coming on there. But Apple Podcasts, and if you are on YouTube, please do make sure you subscribe to us on there. And if you are interested in coming to see Lucy Underdown in Chelmsford, Essex, for a very special small group deadlift seminar stroke workshop on Sunday, the 8th of September, go to our Instagram, click on the link in the bio, and look at signing up on there. Be great to see you there. So until next time, thank you, Pete. It's been great catching up with you.
It has. Also it's the weekend of the 14th, isn't it, of September, is the Disabled Strongman, Britain's Disabled Strongman at Brunel University, if anyone's around for that as well.
Okay, so we will maybe need to get Gary on, won't we? We're gonna have time.
No, unless we get him on next week.
Okay.
which we could do.
We may do a double episode. Yeah, we
Yeah.
could record two.
But no,
yeah.
just to remind people of that, because that is an amazing event. So
that's
I'll be
weekend,
there. James will be there. Alex will be there.
Yeah.
One of my online clients, Lee, is going to be there.
Matt Diamond's going to be there again, isn't he?
Yeah, there's a
Magnus,
bunch. I mean, obviously,
Magnuson will be there. Yeah,
all the strongmen will be there, and then all the competitors as well, like Louise Greer, who we've had on.
Mark Tonner.
Mark Tonner, who we've had on as well.
And then
and all of that. It's an amazing event. It really is. So yeah.
So that is. I think that's the Saturday and Sunday. Is that the 14th and 15th of September?
Yes.
Yeah, brilliant. And that's at Brunel University in London. Yeah.
Yes.
And Health Oddity, we are sponsoring the event as well. So yeah, we really will try and get. We really will have to get. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we really will have to get Gary on actually to talk about that. We'll sort that out for next week. Cool, excellent, guys. We will see you next week. So who knows who we'll have on next week? We may have Gary next. We may have someone else. But yeah, we will be back next week, next Friday, as always, continuing our weekly podcasts for into our 5th year now, 5th year of podcasting. So until next time, see you later. Bye bye.